Time for chapter 3.
Lupino ran his racket of sex, drugs, and contract killings from a sleazy hotel in a slum block of tenements. The NYPD was closing in. I could hear the sirens. Their wail was a crescendo. Lupino thought he could get us by taking Alex out and leaving me to take the fall for it. All he had gotten was my attention.
Now Max is running away from the train station that he first left to go to the bank, then he returned to in order to get out and meet Alex. It says Lupino ran his racket of sex, drugs, and contract killings from a sleazy hotel at the slum block of tenements. This is pretty much just saying Lupino is a low-time gangster. He's not like this big-time guy. He just runs the lowest level of stuff. Sex, drugs, which does connect him to Valkyrie. The police were closing in, so there's this barrier coming in of order. He could hear the sirens. Their wail was a crescendo. Lupino thought he could get us by taking Alex out, so he still thinks that Lupino's behind it, and leaving him to take the fall, so he thinks that Lupino wanted to blame Max for it. This does kind of make it seem where Max understands he might have been found out that he's a cop, but now Max is out for revenge. So he's going to get revenge against Jack Lupino, who we're going to find out is not exactly who we think he is.
I went for the hotel first. It was a sad old thing with flickering lamps and faded colors, cheap mobster punks and tired-eyed prostitutes. I walked straight in, playing at Bogart, like I'd done 100 times before. The place was run by a couple of murdering mobsters with shark smiles. The Finito Brothers.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the pain in the butt. Pain to the max.
You're killing me. Did you make that up yourselves, or you get some wino downstairs to come up with it?
In this panel we have the hotel, which is Lupino's hideout. Supposed to be, but it actually isn't. Lupino's not here. It is an old place, so it's just run down, but it's a remnant of the past. It's something that perhaps Max can kind of relate to. A place where he probably spent a lot of time in. Not this hotel in particular, just a hotel in general. In Silent Hill 2, there are things like apartments that you had to visit, and you visit these like schools and things that are related to the main character. Here, we can kind of see a past that Max had through his present journey. He travels to something like a hotel. He travels to something like the subway station. He travels later on to the Club Ragnarok. He goes to restaurants. He goes to all these normal places that feel like it's part of his job to go to these places. And when he says, I walked in playing a Bogart, like I've done it 100 times, he's talking about how, in relation to Humphrey Bogart, in movies like Maltese Falcon and what's that other movie he was in? Was he in Casablanca? Was that Humphrey Bogart? Yeah. So Humphrey Bogart had this attitude that was always suave, very cool, smoking a cigarette while leaning back, not caring, cynical as well. And that's pretty much what Max Payne starts to become. He starts to become that private eye, gumshoe detective. He becomes that kind of persona. And then he says the place was run by a couple of murdering mobsters with shark smiles. So the people who he meets, they're smiling at him, but not in a nice way. It's a very evil, mischievous way. And it's the kind of smile that you get from a predator, because sharks are predators in the sea and they smile before they eat you, right? It's a very good way of using metaphors. And they're called the Finito Brothers. Pretty much, finito means the end. That's why later on he'll say, you're a finito, finito. But when he comes in, they're already mocking him. They're making fun of him. They're pretty much laughing at him, threatening him, because they found out he's a cop. They found out he's been undercover the whole time. So this does make Max's suspicions that Jack Lupino found him out, it makes them true. It's like, oh, well, if they know that I'm a cop, then that means Jack Lupino thinks that I'm a cop. Somebody found out. Somebody told them. And the whole undercover thing is very well hidden. You'll miss it probably in your first playthrough. That's why, like, for me, I'm like, why does he go over here? What's going on? But you can easily miss it because the way these comic panels work. They're very blunt, straight to the point. And then here's also where Max starts to make fun of them back. He's like, oh, you got somebody else to think of that for you? Meaning like, oh, so you're too stupid to think of that kind of dumb joke for yourself. I like that part. It's really good. One really interesting thing about these two brothers is that they do relate to something that I didn't really notice before, but now I started to notice it. There are these wolves in Norse mythology called Sköll and Hati. Sköll means one who mocks, Hati means one who hates. The two brothers here are mocking him and hating him at the same time. And in Norse mythology, Sköll and Hati are chasing the moon and the sun. So they're chasing two forms of light. Two forms of, what would you call that? Two forms of spirit. And I'm not really sure which one they're chasing, but it seems that Max here is sort of being this light that they're chasing and trying to eat. And in the Ragnarok myth, once Ragnarok begins, they both catch the sun and the moon. The sun and the moon is gone, so now they're just complete darkness. So that's kind of what's happening here. Ragnarok is beginning, but Max doesn't get killed by them. So the light from the moon and the sun still kind of exist. There's still like a glimmer of them. And so it's almost as if the whole story of Max Payne is rather being a complete representation of the Ragnarok myth. It's almost like a slight change in it, where the myths keep going, but he's also preventing big issues from the myth. Or we can also say that these two brothers, who are the murdering mobsters, perhaps they have caught the moon and the sun. It could relate to something like Max's wife and his friend. So whether or not they already did their job, it's still relatable. You can still relate them to the two wolves. And another thing about wolves is that Jack Lupino declares himself as the wolf Fenrir. So these are two lower wolves below the bigger wolf, the alpha wolf.
Don't answer that. A rhetorical question. I got something for the boss. Lupino around?
That kind of depends on who's asking. A friend or a junk squad plan. But don't answer. It's one of them, how do you put it, rhetorical questions. Lupino ain't here, but he says bye.
I don't know why I really love the faces in this one particular part. Just because of Max's face, it looks like something that Robbie Rotten would do with his mouth. But Max comes in there to pretty much kill Lupino. He's like, I'm here for Lupino. And then the two brothers are like, he's not here, but we are going to kill you. Because he shoots back a rhetorical question. He's like, who's asking? Are you a friend? Or are you... And then when he says junk squad plant, that one went way over my head as a kid, but he's pretty much saying, are you an undercover cop? It's like, are you a friend or are you an undercover cop? But you don't have to answer that because we already know. And Jack Lupino says goodbye, meaning he knows also you're dead.
Lupino wasn't in his cheap hotel. Instead, I ran into the Finito Brothers. My cover had been blown, the door slammed shut behind me, and then I was dodging bullets like raindrops.
It's gonna be intense. 2-on-1.
Ha-ha! Pay to the max. Junk squad king. Got a ticket to Motor City for you.
Oh no. Oh, got hit by one bullet. They are finito.
A letter on the desk caught my eye.
I remember that one. Bosses.
Everything all right? Bosses.
I had met Lupino only once. The gangster ran all his rackets through his right-hand man, Vinnie Gognitti. Gognitti was a high-strung whiner on the verge of breaking apart, like an overamped Energizer bunny. He had the brains to run the business, but he lacked the balls, always falling short, taking his frustration out on underage addicts and call girls.
So Max is going backwards in time, and he's saying, yeah, I met Lupino, but only once. He already recognizes him, knows who he is, and he says that he runs all the rackets through a guy called Vinnie Gognitti. Vinnie is, he's surprisingly the character that lives the longest into the second game, but he's not really a threat. I don't think he's even really involved in the whole mythology thing. I can't think of anything for him. Maybe he's related to something like the squirrel that goes up and down Yggdrasil, but nothing really to think about for him. Spineless, kind of just there. A secondary. I'm not exactly sure. What would be a secondary for Fenrir? It doesn't really make sense of what would be a secondary. But here it says that he's a whiner, and he's always too jazzed up. He's always overamped. I'm almost thinking maybe this is related to Thor, but I don't think Thor would be that kind of person. He had brains, meaning that he had wisdom, but he didn't have a spine. He lacked the ability to be warlike. So instead of being brave about things, he would take out his own personal frustration on underaged addicts and call girls. So the people who get addicted to the drug Valkyrie, if they're underaged, he goes for them. And that makes him into a big slime ball. We're meant to hate him for this. And I do love the idea where Max, he takes a dart and it just hits him right there in the photo that's already there, previously put by the Finito Brothers, or perhaps even Jack Lupino himself. Somebody put the picture there. And that's interesting to note. Who did it?
The V deal goes down at your hotel. Jack's exact words, quote, "Vinnie, you're in charge of this one," unquote. "Rico Muerte is coming to see it through. Anything goes wrong and everybody's gonna get dead. Goes double for you. Treat this guy real good. Anything he wants, you give him. Don't screw this up or you're finito, finitos."
So here Max sees some proof of what's going to happen later. He sees... it's foreshadowing. This part's just all foreshadowing. So we get foreshadowed to Vinnie Gognitti, and we get foreshadowed to somebody called Rico Muerte. So Rico Muerte is a hitman, kills people. Kills... you know, it's in his name. Muerte means killing. So the V deal is a deal about Valkyrie. They're trying to sell Valkyrie. Later on, you're going to see suitcases full of Valkyrie vials and things like that. Bright green glowing, like glow sticks. So it's going to happen in the hotel. So when Max says Jack Lupino runs his deals here in the hotel, and he has the racket and everything like that, you're going to have hotel rooms full of whores, you're going to have people addicted around the hotel, and then here's also where they make their big deals. It happens all around this hotel area, and then I think this is the part where later on he catches a ride on top of a train. Sometimes this game does go a bit topsy-turvy with like how you travel from one place to another, but it's always a great change of location. I think every chapter is a different location, except for like near the end. But it's supposed to be where the Finito Brothers are in charge of the deal. Rico Muerte comes to make sure that the deal goes through, and if anything goes wrong, they're going to be dead. Well, they're already dead. Max killed them. They didn't know. And that's actually kind of like a funny thing that like Max is reading it. He's like, okay, yeah, something did went wrong. I came in.
The V deal meant added security, locked doors, lots of nervous thugs with itchy trigger fingers. I'd seen nothing coming in, but that didn't mean it hadn't been there. Rico Muerte was a regular Kaiser Soze, a spook story told to keep the apes in line. 313. The Finitos had scribbled Muerte's room number on the note's margin.
So now Max knows his next goal. His next goal is to meet Rico Muerte and make sure that the deal does not go through, because Max doesn't want the deal to happen, or better yet, to just mess up Jack Lupino's dealings, so then Jack Lupino comes and shows up himself. Because you take out his right-hand man, you take out the people that are important to him, he's gonna show up. It's like shaking the beehive so the bees come out. When he says the V deal means added security, locked doors, and a lot of nervous thugs, it means there's gonna be a lot more people in the hotel. Which is kind of interesting because Max ends up in the middle of the hotel as he walks up there, but then they didn't shoot at him. Did they not know who he was? Feels weird. But maybe that's what the playing like Bogart is. On his way up to the top of the hotel, he's fine. On the way back down, ooh. This one could be considered part of a tower, but we're not at the tower yet. However, there is a foreshadowing of the tower in the thing where it says "Welcome to New York," and that panel shows a giant tower. The tower does mean complete destructive, what would you call that? A destructive power challenging something that you built as a superstructure. In tarot cards and even in a lot of mythologies, you'll have a tower, and the tower is the most vulnerable thing to have, but it's also the thing that you build upwards so that you're closer to heaven, you're closer to the sky. So it's pretty much just saying stuff like technology, cybernetics, any kind of tool that you have, any kind of if you rely on stuff that you've had in the past, you're relying on this like structure you built. And then if something strikes it, you can die from it. Or at least your tower is destroyed, and then what you have is your own vulnerable self to deal with. And that's why in the tarot card, the tower, you'll have a person falling out, but you don't see them dead, you just see them falling. But that's why he later gets caught by the star. And all this is going to be later on. Once you enter the final mission, that's when the tower part of the story comes in. right here is his foreshadowing. And then when he says Rico Muerte was a regular Kaiser Soze is supposed to be a character from the movie The Unusual Suspects. And it was a role played by Kevin Spacey. And all that means is that he's a mythical, legendary psychopath known to be a threat to both the cops and the mobsters and anyone around him. So when we meet Rico Muerte, he doesn't seem as bad as his legend is, but he's still a dirtbag. But then we have the room 313, and 313 is going to be our next destination.
Joey, Virgilio, you're right in there?
Occupado.
Not answering. Call the others. Tell them to come quick. Okay, but we can't wait for them. We gotta go in now. Bosses, we're coming in.
There he is!
Can a guy get some max privacy in here?
The NYPD has been
Girls here. Oh, it has a little heart on top of it. Just like a little girl's room. That's not opening.
In his press conference today, the mayor stated that Valkyrie represents a clear danger to New York and called for drastic actions to eliminate the problem. On today's top story, the Valkyrie crisis worsens with the murder of DEA Special Agent Alex Balder. Special Agent Balder had been shot repeatedly from a point-blank range. The gunman has been identified as Max Payne. The noose is sure to tighten around this fugitive criminal as more NYPD units join the search to apprehend him.
I had just gotten my 15 minutes of fame.
So in the last video, chapter 2, I kind of flubbed. And I was flip-flopping. I'm like, well, I don't know exactly who could Alex be representing, who could the wife be representing, who's Balder, right? Alex's last name is literally Balder, so Alex is Balder, meaning the death of Light, the death of Balder, is what causes Max to enter this new realm into Ragnarok, because the death of Balder is what triggers it. And then there comes in the 3 years of winter. Now Lupino being blamed, it does kind of show that Lupino might be in some way related to Loki, the one who controlled the Hati. So that's pretty cool that they tell us about Balder in like an indirect way after the fact that he dies. This must be the casting couch. Anything upstairs? Now they lock the attic. Break on through to the other side. It was Max Chili out here.
Yeah, something's wrong with the bosses. Payne's there and they're not answering.
Oh my god, there's so many explosions. Are they done? Alright. I love the explosion sound effect in this game. Muslim Payne. Now that I think of it, if there was a game called Muslim Payne, it would still be in New York. Just that there would only be, I guess, 2 buildings involved. Considering it's 2001 and all. Going downstairs. That door sucks. This must be how Italians live in Italy. We've all been in apartments like these, haven't we?
Hey!
Hey, 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 who the hell brings a shotgun to a whorehouse? Some kind of freak. I mean, a pistol I get, but a shotgun? I remember when I was first writing my diesel punk novel series. Not really a novel, it's like a novelette. It's a serial, okay? When I was writing that, I was thinking of this, this very thing just dripping from the ceiling. And that stuck with me for a long time, just like having like this weird hotel.
Previously on Lords and Ladies.
But I think I made it into an apartment.
Marquis Valentine asks for an audience.
Thank you, Lawrence.
My lady.
My lord.
And now, an all-new episode of Lords and Ladies, brought to you in part by Acer Corporation.
My lady.
My lord?
My lady, there is a matter of great importance I must
My
bring to
lady,
your
my
attention.
lord, my lady,
My
my
lord,
lord.
there is?
Indeed, my lady, there is indeed. From the very first moment we met, upon that distant
Oh,
forest
here's
path,
Valkyrie.
there's been sunlight
Goddamn,
upon
some
leaves
giant needles.
blazing like the colors of your hair.
Like switchblades.
Oh, my lord, you should not speak so.
But my lady, I must.
Do they have
My
any
lord,
damage?
no, I forbid you. This cannot be. This must not be.
But why, my love, why?
My lord, it is too dreadful. Do not force me to speak the words.
My lady, I beg of you, I must know. I would rather die than not know.
Yes, my lord, we should both be dead, for this shame is too great for the living. My lord, I am your long-lost sister.
Oh my god! Incest is wincest, haha.
V-head junkies could go off without a warning. I had to be careful.
If you noticed before, it said, brought to you by the Azer Corporation. That means Azer Corp was behind this show, Lords and Ladies. Destroy pipe down. I think I did the pipe down joke last time, didn't I? Oh well, third time's the charm.
There he is.
Oh, find me. Oh Jesus. Saw a guy on the wall. Oh! Ooh, a double room for when you want to have sex with whores and high five your friends. Nothing in here. To shoot the lock like in an action movie. Yeah, Lords and Ladies is part of Max's mind because all these things that he sees in the TV, they're glimpses of what he either wants or what he kind of feels in his own life, and he probably felt like he was in some kind of soap opera, or at least he wanted one.
Kick back. Killer vending machine.
You talking to me?
Tough guy. Scared.
There.
Oh Jesus. Where did that shot come from? Looked like a soda smacked me in the back of the head. Are these vending machines becoming sapient? Take 3 pills. An overdose like Lil Peep. Let's do a Lil Peep and take 3 of these. Ooh. Somebody vibrated him to death. That happened to me once at a Rob Zombie concert. Oh, picking up good vibrations.
Tonight, the city's fight against the nightmare drug Valkyrie took a turn for the worse as DEA Special Agent Alex Balder was found brutally slain at the Roscoe Street subway station. A suspect was seen leaving the site only moments after the shots had been fired, and the NYPD is currently in pursuit of Max Payne, a repeated felon believed to be armed and extremely dangerous. And now the weather. The worst winter storm in recorded history continues to pound the city.
So, by the constipated look on Max's face, it seems that he's very disgruntled about how his undercover presence, being Max Payne, it says repeated felon. So, that's because he's undercover, and they are saying Max Payne the fugitive is Max Payne undercover cop, you know? He gave himself a fake reputation. Either that, or somehow this weird kind of fake life that he had brought in all these like felonies. But now there's a manhunt out for Max Payne, and it's all over the place. Everybody and their mama is looking for him, and that's supposed to give the player a sense of urgency, or at least like, oh man, this is getting big, this is getting huge, what the hell's going on? Because now Max is accused of murder because he was there at the crime scene. And that, oh, and also when he says reporting from the crime scene, that's like a foreshadowing of this crime where Balder gets killed. Also, when she says nightmare drug, Valkyrie, that's a bit of a foreshadowing of how the Valkyrie gives you nightmares. It creates nightmare levels twice. It's kind of weird that they say brutally slain. Feels like Max took a giant sword and sliced him in half. I kind of want to talk about Valkyrie now, but I could just wait for later for when the Valkyrie actually kicks in, because Valkyrie is an interesting term to use for this kind of drug, this bright green drug. So as we encounter it more, I'll explain further, but there is a reason why it's green. There is a reason why it's called Valkyrie and not Valkyrie. Just to make that clear.
Here stated that Valkyrie represents the NYPD is out on that.
Where are all the whores? Oh, here's one. Already we're seeing the effects of Valkyrie in this area. Had a... Oh.
It's coming.
Oh, it's a guy.
It's coming. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! I'm gonna hurt you. I'm gonna hurt.
Jerking off?
The flesh.
I'll hurt you too.
Gun him down.
Is that Alex Jones? Oh god, was that me or him? Scared the crap out of me. I thought I got killed. Pizza? Pizza? How's anybody gonna see... How's anybody gonna find pizza there? Who's gonna get pizza from there? Spider-Man?
I found Muerte's room.
This is his room. 3rd floor, 331. Alright, not very fair, but
Muerte had received a letter.
I played this game before. And that's bullshit. Oh, and there's a guy coming. I hear something sinister. What's going on? Have to open this?
Our investigation had turned up nothing to link Angelo Punchinello, the head of the Punchinello family, to Valkyrie. All tracks had ended with Jack Lupino. The letter in Muerte's room was signed by the Don himself. It was the first hint that the Kingpin knew what was brewing inside his syndicate.
The trouble you got into after the Chicago screw-up. The Punchinello family bailed you out. You have been waiting for a chance to pay us back.
So, Max was doing an investigation on the Punchinello family. I think that was mentioned before. And it all ends at Jack Lupino because nothing can be tied to the Don. Angelo Punchinello. Angelo can be a name attached to Angel. So somebody like Angelo Punchinello can be considered something like a fallen angel. Or he can also be just kind of related to Loki, which can also technically be related to something like Lucifer. So when we think of this idea where, you know, we have names, we have the things that they're doing, the Don, the leader of the Underworld, is pretty much he's the dude, he's the devil, he's the devil, he's the bad guy, the main bad guy, and that's why he's the Kingpin with the syndicate. And in Muerte's room, he left a letter that was talking about something that happened in Chicago. They screwed up. And Rico Muerte was bailed out. And then he has to find a way to pay them back. So to pay them back, he's going to try to help out and pretty much risk his life. So this is also kind of foreshadowing Rico Muerte paying back for his crimes. Now all the evil stuff that he's done as a right-hand man of the devil, of Lucifer, of Loki, now he's going to be paying for it. And he isn't technically what is considered the Underworld. So all this is happening in the Underworld, we have to also think of it kind of like how there's the 9 circles of hell, There's like Dante's Inferno. There is fire later on, actually. And the fire area, like, I'm gonna explain that one probably later. But 9 Circles of Hell can also relate to the 9 worlds of Yggdrasil in Norse mythology. Also, Rico Muerte's name can relate to something like death, where he could be also the Grim Reaper, or at least a servant of the devil. And like I said before, Jack Lupino is Fenrir, Angelo Puccinello is Loki, or the devil, so there is a serpent that might not be... It's most likely not Rico Muerte, it's most likely somebody else. We just had to see who this serpent / poisonous snake is.
One of our trusted boys has a monkey the size of King Kong on his back. And we need your special skills for backup on a major deal.
Collecting evidence had gotten old a few hundred bullets back. I was already so far past the point of no return I couldn't even remember what it looked like when I had passed it.
As I hear, for 3 years, Max has been trying to get Angelino Puccinello and trying to get evidence on him. Now he has it. A letter signed by Puccinello himself. And that's why Max, he just throws it away. He's like, I've stopped collecting evidence. Now I want to start collecting bodies. I want to start collecting lives. I want to start getting my revenge on these people. The police are not going to take care of them. I'm going to take care of them. This is the perfect, ultimate anti-hero moment. Fuck the police. Fuck the law. I'm the law now. You know, he's like Sylvester Stallone in Judge Dredd. He goes, I am the law. You know, like he has that kind of attitude now. And when he's talking about, when Angelina Puccinello's talking about a trusted boy who has a monkey the size of King Kong on his back, monkey on your back is like you're addicted to something. You're addicted to a drug. The monkey is like drug, you know, bouncing on you. And he says, we need you as backup because this is a major deal. This is a big thing. Okay, this is how you're going to pay us back. So, in other words, to say it in very plain English, Jack Lupino is addicted to Valkyrie. He's not very much there. He's like a Joe Biden. We need a Kamala Harris in that. We need a Kamala Harris next to him to make sure that everything's done right. His brain's not exactly there. Let's get the hell out of here.
Hey!
Oh. I think I was prepared. Oh! The crackhead's after me. Reminds me of every time I go near a Jack-in-the-Box. Ooh. Ooh. It mildly fills up with pee. Can drink from the toilet? I was in the middle of Jersey and I had no choice. I had to drink my own pee. Bust up that door. Ooh, somebody spilled some tomato sauce ketchup over here. I always like to go up this thing, but I guess it's just like a fallen piece of wood.
I didn't want to know what had happened here. It was not a pretty sight.
Buff? Bum? Buh? Ooh, what was that? Mazel tov cocktails. Well, anything with the word cock in it must be good. So it looks like the guy was stabbed in the back, like he's a vampire. Maybe his blood is the one that's over there on this side. Yeah, it's like he walked it. What? It's such a weird thing. I actually don't have any real explanation for that situation. It's just really out of nowhere, out of the blue thing to have happen. Where is the exit? 10 playthroughs later. I still can't get out of here. Where am I supposed to go? Oh, wait a minute, I remember. Ram bag, whack the bag, pinch the helmet. Alright, time to ruin everyone's heater.
Told you.
Shit!
Damn! I thought it was a bomb for sure.
Nah, the Russian wouldn't dare. This has been waiting to happen.
I thought it was a bomb.
She was the bomb?
What the hell?
Oh. I barely dodged those bullets. Gas odor? Oh no! He was hiding behind that cardboard box. One of the best ways to hide behind something is to make sure it's cardboard.
Shut up. You're gonna die.
So these V-heads all over the place, they seem to just constantly be saying like death, dying, blah 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 blah. It's pizza sign again. But their whole goal is to just make sure that the player understands, yes, this is Ragnarok, and being in a big city full of crackheads pretty much must be like a dystopian end of the world.
The hooker had left her diary on the table. The diary belonged to a hooker named Candy Dawn. The read would have made a vice cop blush.
Had talks with the mystery hag over the phone again. Sent her the latest One-Eyed Alfred tape. As long as the hag keeps paying for the tapes, the old man could come every day for all I care.
She had a nice sideline, making secret X-rated flicks of her clients and selling them to the highest bidder. They would get her killed if her V-fix for the day didn't do it first.
So here we meet a hooker named Candy Dawn. We actually had to fight her later on. Well, that rhymed. Diarrhea. But back to seriousness. Candy Dawn is a hooker who was hired by what she considers as an old hag. Or, I'm sorry, mystery hag. And she is having sex with somebody called Alfred. Later on we find the guy called Alfred, whose name is Alfred Woden, who's supposed to be a stand-in for Odin, the Norse god of wisdom and I think wind also. Let me check. He's associated with wisdom, healing, death, royalty, gallows, knowledge, war, battle, victory, sorcery, poetry, frenzy, runic alphabet, and depicts him as the husband of the goddess Frigg. So he's pretty much like, I would consider him a little bit like if Zeus mixed with Hermes and Athena, and that's Odin, which is pretty badass when you think of it. But his entire thing revolves around ultimate knowledge, and his entire story is about ultimate knowledge. He hangs himself to get knowledge. He sacrifices one of his eyes to get knowledge, and this also kind of resembles, I think it's the Eye of Horus from Egyptian mythology, where you have to sacrifice one eye to get inner vision, so like clairvoyancy. So you kind of have to like close your eyes of the surroundings in order to get like an inner vision even more clear. But with her, Candy Dawn, if anything, I would consider Candy Dawn is Hel, H-E-L, the goddess of death and the one who runs the Norse version of Hades. I guess most people would recognize her as like that sexy MILF from the Thor movies, the Marvel movies. The one with like I think she has like antlers or something, but yeah, that's pretty much Hel. And Candy Dawn, I'm not sure what her name would be considered as, but I mean, it's a really like, that's like a stripper's name, you know, Candy. Dawn does feel a little bit like she might have been related to something that's before. Well, because dawn is kind of like another way of saying birth, like the birth of the day. So she would be considered something related to birth if we're going to attach her name to anything. But I don't think that's really something that connects here. I would just say that because later on we find out who she's affiliated with, she is more or less a goddess of death. and she is kind of what causes people to die because she's dealing with Nicole Horn, the old hag, the mystery hag. And this mystery hag is paying her to make tapes of her having sex with Alfred. And at first we don't even know why this is being related, but later on when we meet Alfred, he's like, listen, there was a whore who I kept having sex with, and somebody was filming tapes of it. And if any of this gets out, I'm ruined. You know, like, his entire reputation is ruined because he's part of like this inner circle. It's called Inner Circle. And Max is thinking like, oh, she's selling it to whoever bids the highest. It's like, yeah, but he gets really involved into this thing very quickly. So this sounds like really random, out of nowhere, completely unrelated, non sequitur, but it's like the most apparent thing in the entire story. So that's what I love about this game. They give you something that looks completely out of nowhere, doesn't even have anything to do with anything, but then when you go further into the game, it's like a big part of the story. And that's what I love about this game. If they take this part out in the remake, it's a failure. You have to have the Kenny Dawn part. You have to have more of Kenny Dawn, if anything. Like, Kenny Dawn's a great character, but she's surprisingly the only character that is a female that you kill on screen, other than Nicole Horn, who you kill off screen because she's in the helicopter. Oh, and apparently she's also addicted to V, so there you go. Must be very easy to get horny in this kind of room. And here's the place where she makes the tapes. Oh yeah. What's even crazier is that you can easily miss that room. Oh. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? I got you. Betty. Spray them. Let's see if this works. I'll put you out. Oops, it's empty. Let's have some love in the elevator.